And you know what time that is on Sunday morning? Each and every Sunday morning, Suncoast Normal bringing it to you here to jump in the rotation. That's right. Here we are in the rotation this Sunday, and we got a very special guest with us this Sunday. It's Chris Suttle. Chris is the director of events for Villain Arts, which is the largest tattoo convention corporation company in America. And I would say that they're great partners in the movement, and they've been supporting what we've been trying to do with Suncoast Normal and working to legalize it. Chris, welcome to the rotation.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here. I really appreciate to be on this morning.
Yeah. So, there is a big convention that y'all have coming up this Sunday in Tampa. I know you got several others, around the country. I mean, you all are always putting on great events. Had a great convention last year and looking forward to this year's convention. Why don't you tell the folks listening at home what they can expect? I myself have never been to a tattoo convention, been in many tattoo parlors, but to see so many great artists in one area, especially, the Tampa Convention Center, what can folks look forward to?
Well, basically what they can look forward to is an experience like the artists in the world that come in for this. And they're very open. They're very, very excited. It's your 50th tattoo or your first one. You're going to find the artist that's going to take the time with you, that's going to with you in a way that you're not going to find anywhere else. And you'll be able to have access to different techniques anywhere else in the world. We are a family. We all travel on the road together so that you can feel that energy the second you walk in. And they've been taking great care of us with the field where we run the CBD Delta 8 THC booth that we have there in the convention, and see people come in, see their faces light up when they look around at all the different things that their artists see, the other vendors to start talking to the artist. But I also just love when they have a chance to come by the table so that I can do what I do best with this, and they deserve to have, so that we can finally get the legalization nationwide that we deserve for the country.
Well, we really appreciate that. With the latest developments that's happened recently, what do you think about President Biden, extending pardons to those folks in the D.C. area, for their marijuana possession charges?
It's proud of the president for following through on promises made, during the campaign. But what I'm more concerned with, and what I would encourage everyone, including your state and any other state that's listening, the president did push for local governors to pardon low-level possession charges on. And for example, our governor here in North Carolina, Roy Cooper, has gone on the news a number of times since then, said statement, but hasn't taken any action. So we actually have a protest that we're planning on October 20th, Governor's Mansion, calling for him to stop saying that he is just on board and to use the power that is granted, issue that pardon without having to get prior approval from the NCGA, which is our state legislative body, at that, except for two very rare occurrences when it comes to capital murder or something that's still a civil war, which says something about selling state secrets. Those are the only two instances where the governor does not have. So in this case, he does not need approval from anyone else. And him saying that he is on board with the president's action is an insult to activists like myself and people everywhere that are friends of the plant. So I would encourage you to start looking into similar protest movements as well, and hold your local and state officials, because this is always going to be a states' rights battle, no matter what happens federally. Because even or decriminalize or whatever their next step is going to be, there are states that will still take advantage of the fight. So you've got to bring the fight to you on your base and use the grassroots movements.
Yeah, I mean, here in Florida, I think we take for granted the fact that we have a right that you all in North Carolina don't. We can actually put laws through our Constitution, on the ballot and adopt them when our lawmakers don't do what we want to do. In North Carolina, y'all don't have a ballot initiative process to make your own laws as people.
No, we don't. We're what's called a Dillon Rule state, which means that only ours to introduce new legislature. And to make it even weirder, they only do so on odd numbered years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you got an uphill battle in North Carolina. We also have a similar battle here in Florida. We have a governor who, has made comments saying he doesn't like the smell of weed. That's why he wouldn't support, full legalization in adult use. Furthermore, I would say, Ron DeSantis in Florida, people hailed him early out, coming out in favor of smokable flower. But, other than that, the question is, what have you done for me lately? I mean, he's had 4 years to improve our medical marijuana system in this state, and we don't have employment protections because his party has shot it down. He didn't make it a priority. We still have people getting kicked out of their nursing homes and getting kicked out of organ transplant lists for using illegal state-sanctioned medicine. And, and we still, need to expand our qualifying conditions in this state. There still are a vast number of people who don't have access to it who should. And so, when I tell people when they're going to the ballot box, early voting's already starting. They're already casting ballots via mail. In the grand scheme of things, we need to vote for the politicians that are supporting us. And for some folks, that may require them to vote across the aisle or vote against their own party. But we got to stop voting against our own self-interest. We got to stop voting for people who think it's okay to take money from private prisons, who think it's okay to keep locking people up for marijuana possession.
I do have to, unfortunately, go here in a moment because I'm actually working on some things for our next bill. So I've got a couple local businesses. But before I go, I would like to say that the other most to do is never forget to celebrate the small victories along the way. The president thing, there's been a wall that's been holding and forcing us to die. And every time a speech like this is made, or the president comes on and says something, or there's a state legislative introduced, even if it's not the right bill, if it's something that moves the needle forward in the right direction, one thing will cause a shock wave that lets another one of those bricks fall. And for a moment, we get on our face again. And if we don't celebrate that, we're never going to have the strength we need to win the war. Change is coming. And I promise you, this is going to be a battle, but it's going to be won the right side of when it's all over. And thank you so much for having me this morning. And I look forward to seeing us make it out there.
Indeed. And so for everybody who wants to join, you definitely want to check out the Villain Arts Tattoo Convention at the Tampa Convention Center this weekend. You can get your tickets online at villainarts.com and check out Suncoast Normal. We'll be out there with a table. You're promoting it. And Chris, thanks again for all the great work that you're doing to support legalization and also for putting on a kick-ass tattoo convention. So we really appreciate you.
I appreciate that. Thank you. You have a great day.
All right, we'll catch you. Happy to have you in the rotation anytime. See you.
Thank you, sir.
Yep. So, there you have it. Check it out. This weekend, we'll be at the Villain Arts Tattoo Convention. Again, it's at the Tampa Convention Center Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You're going to have a great time turning out. But also, this Friday evening, after you leave the tattoo convention, you got something really good that you can check out. And that is, of course, our Halloweed event. The Halloween costume party, there's $100 prize. With our very funny comedians joining us on stage for the Halloween event and the $100 best costume prize. It's going to be an amazing event. Shout out to DJ Dez and Greg Roy Smokey. Of course, Matt Fernandez is going to have some amazing jokes. The doors open at 7. That's right. Doors open at 7 o'clock. So you want to get there early. We'll be wrapping up around 11, but it is going to be an amazing night. We're going to have comedians hit the stage from 9 to 10. We'll be announcing the winners of our costume contest at 10 o'clock. So you need to be in the building to win the costume contest. Make sure you're there for our costume contest at 10. And then, of course, enjoy all the live music. There'll be food there, music. We're going to have some amazing vendors. Cushy Pies, which is one of our favorite vendors, will be there. So you definitely want to check it out and come to Halloween. Get your tickets, suncoastnormal.com. Halloweed.org. Tickets available now on our website. You want to be there. And again, I'm really excited for putting on Halloween. When we had our last Halloween event, it was before the pandemic, and that threw kind of a wrench in kind of the events over the last couple of years. But I'm so excited for us to be coming back and coming back strong. I know folks are really going to enjoy our Halloween party. O'clock this Friday. You don't want to miss it. You want to be there. I want to just give a shout out to Gary and Carlos, our co-host, amazing deputy director, and and of course our political director. Carlos is usually here, but he's kind of under the weather today, so hope a speedy recovery. And thank you, Carlos, for always holding it down. His job is not easy being the engineer, so me running the booth here, running the broadcast is definitely always a challenge. And Carlos doesn't get enough credit for helping us put on this show. And then, of course, Gary, who is one of the greatest activists. He's dedicated. I mean, that guy, we've put his van through more miles and more tires than I can count, going back and forth to Tallahassee and helping make sure that our political director is making it happen for us in the halls of government. So I just want to say a shout out to Gary Stein as well, who's not here today with us. Look, team, it's just me solo, but there are a lot of great things going on that I think you should know in the marijuana world, and the great news. One in particular is that if you're coming here to our nation's capital, the mayor of Washington, D.C. Recently signed a bill that allows tourists to self-certify for medical marijuana. So you can actually visit a D.C. area dispensary. So, residents of the district were already able to self-certify under a law that was enacted over the summer. And, marijuana registrations have surged. But now Mayor Muriel Bowser has expanded on that reform and signed a temporary emergency legislation just last Monday that lets non-residents obtain a 30-day registration from the Alcoholic Beverage Regulation Administration to purchase marijuana from licensed DC dispensaries. And so pretty excited for that. This is an interesting development. It only costs $30 for out-of-state applicants, or at least 21, to apply online and pay a $30 fee. I mean, that's not bad. So essentially $1 a day to have access to DC's dispensaries for 30 days. So I'm pretty excited for it. I think folks should definitely try it out. DC also, has an interesting gray area where, folks are able to gift you cannabis. So, there's all kinds of delivery services, smoothie services. There's pop-ups everywhere in DC where you can find folks who will be gifting cannabis away. So it's definitely, an interesting place. Always remember, and this is something that we were talking about earlier, is that cannabis still remains a Schedule I substance federally. So, if you get caught smoking, in front of the White House, you'll be one of those people who would get hit with a possession charge that essentially, the President Biden's pardon just took effect for. So I would highly recommend, be safe, be smart, always. New York has adopted probably the most liberal policy, and I mean liberal in the sense not necessarily when it comes to politics, but that it's the most free policy that you can probably have. Or anywhere that you can smoke tobacco in the city of New York, you can smoke your cannabis. And so I find New York is definitely one of those meccas. But from DC to New York, we're seeing a lot of change. The residents in Maryland are actually voting over the course of the next week or so, all the way through Election Day on adult use. So we'll soon see, Virginia, DC, Maryland, all becoming adult use states. The whole DMV. I mean, the South is one of the last holdouts. And in Florida, there is a constitutional amendment right now for adult use that's being circulated. So folks should definitely take the time to take a look at Smart and Safe Florida's adult use measure and see if that's what they want to see here in the state of Florida and making it happen for adult use. And, all in all, people, when it comes to adult use, what we see is politicians really want to cash in, if you will, on a movement on the train that's already left the station. And so, what I think is probably one of the most important things, is understanding who's genuine and actually want to be a reformer, and which politicians are just trying to cash in on the moment. And joining us to talk more about the politicians is our Director of Public Policy, Gary Stein. So I'm going to bring Gary in here. Gary, how you doing this Sunday morning?
Oh, fantastic! Just by scaring the shit out of my neighbors.
Well, I'm glad you could join us. Just had Chris Suttle on from Villain Arts talking about the upcoming tattoo convention we'll be at this Saturday. But one of the things that we were talking about is celebrating the little victories along the way. Some folks weren't as impressed with President Biden's, pardons. But the fact is that, a president of the United States doing anything for marijuana reform, considering, that at best during the Obama administration and even the Trump administration, the policy of presidents was just to leave it alone, to not touch it. And so just celebrating the small victories along the way, we think is important. But more than that, the fact that the voters have the biggest say right now going to the ballot box this week, with early voting and all the way through next week through the election. So, we were talking about here in the D.C. area, Maryland's voting right now for adult use. And the mayor of D.C. just signed legislation this past week that allows tourists now to self-certify for medical marijuana for a 30-day for a $30 charge. You can get access for 30 days to DC's medical marijuana dispensaries. What do you think of that, Gary?
I had thought about it.
It's funny you say that. You actually have. Gary wrote a bill around tourist reciprocity here in Florida, and unfortunately, we wind up with the House Republicans and Senate Republicans and Governor Ron DeSantis doing absolutely nothing with it. And Gary, your bill, if I'm not mistaken, when you looked at the revenue impact, could fully fund our tourism agency here in the state of Florida. Visit Florida, right?
Out that with the average of 120 million visitors, even if only 6 to 9% of the visitors coming in are requesting still generate approximately $75 million, which is enough to cover Visit Florida. Literally is our marketing firm for the state of Florida from here to Abu Dhabi. and the which doesn't make any sense at all. I mean, and our thing was all about a $10 fee, not even 30, but you got to give because they're not exactly as big as Florida.
Yeah, I mean, Florida has hundreds of dispensary locations now. DC has like 7, so there's definitely a lot more in Florida. One of the things that I found interesting, crazy news up and down the Florida industry. Rise, dispensaries is planning to expand by sharing dispensary space in the buildings with certain Circle Ks throughout the state. And I know the Department of Health recently wants to move forward, and they say they haven't approved it. They want to squash this idea in its infancy. But comedians always joke that that's where we're headed. Or one day you can get your cannabis, at the gas station, at 7-Eleven, and kids and future generations will never know the struggles we went through of having to meet with strangers and get into cars and talking codes. Make sure my T-shirts don't have seeds in them next time. What do you think?
The OMMU has already put their kibosh on that whole plan. It would the Green Thumb Industries credit for attempting to move things forward that True Leave usually does things, which is basically they go out and they get permission before they're signing off on, and then they move forward. And in this case, they just figured, let's see if anybody complains about it. And the parent company of is named Couche-Tard, believe it or not. I call it Couche-Turd because that's probably had come together with GTI to go ahead and get amount of space. they rent out some of their spaces for Subway sandwich shops, space with a separate entrance, of course, to go ahead and sell Rise Express, which would have been a little come and go kind of situation, a little grab and go cannabis issue. Of course, that doesn't exist in a medical market, and that is at least OMU was obviously not a medical issue, and it didn't comply to the current rules and regulations by the wayside. But I'm certain that Green Thumb Industries is going to try again. The CEO of Green Thumb to try to come on this today. They were holding litigation, and on both sides, it seems that they're constantly working on litigating this whole industry, and the people who are not in the loop are us, and that is constantly the issue. It'd be nice if we had it once in a while, but that is where they stand on that, and I was glad because at this point in time, it's not a good look. With those who sell those wonderful products out of gas stations like Spice, to have a little bit a higher platform for a medical product that we have it befitting the price we're paying. Because there's not too many things you can buy in a gas station that usually $1 for an eighth.
Well, selling booth in the gas station is also, something that folks have long, had an issue with, and all in all, the fact that the MMTCs in Florida, would move forward. You're right; it does kind of cheapen the image, but also, people want their cannabis now; they want it quickly. One of the things that I found interesting in the Maryland area is that some of the dispensaries have taken over old bank buildings. So you can actually go through a drive-through and they'll send you over your product, in a vacuum tube, so you don't even have to get out of your car. And I think that's one of the most ingenious ideas that I've seen. And I would love to see, if we're going to have, MMTCs in Florida trying to make it convenient, they should be renovating bank buildings, especially all these old SunTrust buildings that have gone out of business, and taking a look there as to, how they can make it more convenient for folks to get access to their medicine.
Move actually has done that for a couple of their locations, and I believe so has Grow Healthy off of US 60 or I-60, whatever it is. State Road 6 is also an old bank building where you can go ahead and pick it up through the drive-through, and it'd be nice to like you're picking up your prescriptions. I mean, granted, we don't have anybody behind the counter who can act like a pharmacist. That would, and even more cement this as a medical program, because generally you talk to the guys about the endocannabinoid system and receptors and how this is best for headaches and what's best for Crohn's, and they'll look at you like, I don't know, off your ass. And that's not a medical program. However, a gas station program. I'll go back to that.
Well, Gary, one of the things I was going to say, one of the things with the president's recent announcement in indicating a shift in cannabis reform has been that folks finally think that the bipartisan bill for safe banking is finally going to be a possibility. It's been definitely picking up steam, and so with MMTCs and dispensaries be able to legitimately become essentially businesses in this country. Right now they're all operating on cash, but actually being able to deduct general business expenses and stuff would be a big boom to the industry. And the House already has passed the Safe Banking Act, which will allow state licensed businesses to engage freely with banks and other financial institutions, as well as the Veterans Equal Access Act, which allows VA doctors to recommend medical cannabis to patients, as amendments to the National Defense Authorization Act. And now that bill is under consideration by the United States Senate. So, if it makes it through the Senate version, it makes it through conference, there's a high possibility that we can really see legalization become de facto in the United States. What are your thoughts on that, Gary?
I thought that the SAFE Act was a slam dunk. I really did. It makes so much sense. They're always complaining, well, you have to be a cash business and you can't get credit cards. They've been working on workarounds that for many years. It's the old chaos theory. Business will always find a way. But I have actually found people who were very act, especially those people like, for instance, who are currently running paper for giving them high price loans that are not through the FDIC. Those guys have been making money hand over fist in this non-banking world. Banks will obviously put a kibosh on their business, and so they're seeing it. We're seeing it. As to what happens if you deregulate, rather deschedule from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3, and Big Pharma takes it over. As right now, if the banks take it back over again, then they're out of business. It always irks me that seems to be the most important. Supposed to be worrying about access for patients. That's what I got involved in this in the whole at the beginning. But issues are the ones that constantly driving the market. Just drives me absolutely crazy. Oh, a slide just came up here on.
Well, one of the things that I think is, and we've talked about this numerous times, the disconnect between elected officials and the public. Recent polls continue to show the same thing. 67% of U.S. voters say nobody should be in jail for the possession of marijuana. An even greater percentage oppose it, categorized as a Schedule 1 controlled substance. And, when you look at the breakdown of that, 78% of Democrats and 70% of independents, and even 54% of Republicans say no one should be incarcerated for possessing cannabis. Voters support legislation to legalize marijuana at the federal level for all adults by similar percentages. And so, with the midterms approaching right now, folks already voting. You can check out, the normal vote guide that we've put together. Check out Normal's Election Center and go to Florida. You can check out Smoke the Vote, which is our voter guide that shows you which candidates that we've had here on the rotation that are supporting it. Go back and watch our past episodes. One of the most important ones, I think, is that the current Democratic candidate for governor of Florida, Charlie Crist, has said that if you can brew your own beer in Florida, you should be able to grow your own cannabis. And that is a far cry from the existing governor who's had 4 years to improve our medical marijuana system and has done nothing to improve it. We talked earlier about the last thing Ron DeSantis did was give patients smokable flower. But, that was almost 4 years ago. And you got to ask, what have you done for me lately? What have you done to help people, keep their jobs? What has he done to help people, actually not get kicked out of their nursing home or an organ transplant list? What has he done to help expand qualifying conditions, or like your tourist reciprocity bill, Gary, which could fully fund, Visit Florida? And the truth is, he's done nothing about it. In fact, he's been hostile, saying, the smell of cannabis is something that irritates me, and I don't think that we should move forward with adult use. So we as cannabis users have to really get out of our mindset in thinking that politicians who have shown us time and time again that they're not on our team and being irrational and hoping that they're going to come around. There is no hope when it comes down to it. Ron DeSantis is not going to do what he needs to do when it comes to the people. And even harder is, trying to get these ballot initiatives done when DeSantis has appointed a Supreme Court that's hostile to adult use ballot initiatives. And the fact is that there are some judges up for retention, on the Florida Supreme Court that, frankly, we need to not retain. And so I highly encourage folks to check it out. And definitely next week's broadcast of the rotation, we're going to be reviewing who you should be voting for and who you shouldn't. So you definitely want to tune in next week. And of course, you can always watch us live on our website at Suncoast Normal. Also, we're broadcasting live on Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube right now. So, there's tons of ways that you can always join in and jump in the rotation with us each and every Sunday.
Yeah.
So, Gary.
Oh, you're here.
I see your cat there. So, what's the cat's name?
That is Salem. Perfect sense, right? And yeah, he's our good luck charm. He seems to bear it. So that's why he's constantly jumping on my shoulder, just doing the old gas gorilla thing. Yeah, we have a lot of issues that we have to deal with, and hopefully we'll get the right. And the whole concept of what's going to happen federally versus what's going to happen state, big issue too. Which is why we've had congressional candidates on here as well as gubernatorial candidates. And I highly suggest you go ahead and check out our archives and listen. We had a very good interview last week with Senator Jeff Brandes, who termed out, who were no longer last week. But we asked him very carefully if Biden states need to go ahead and follow his lead and start pardoning it, will float. He said, absolutely not. He said the current they don't have any willingness to go ahead and move anything forward. They're tired of talking about cannabis. We have to start talking about culture war stuff now because that really excites them. Cannabis here anymore, apparently. That has to do with not really looking or noticing. It comes down to the exact same thing. We have ballot initiatives. I mean, I don't need to go to this. We did pass an initiative that will allow ex-felons to go ahead and get their legislature did everything they could to kibosh that.
Yeah, I mean that was a real heartbreaker. We worked really hard to get Amendment 4 passed to re-enfranchise returning citizens who have done their time and pay their debt to society, and folks were given to clear that they got their civil rights back. And Ron DeSantis created this unnecessary election police force to essentially arrest people for voter fraud. And the fact is that out of all the arrests made, it's been like a couple dozen, and the amount of money that they've spent on this agency, on this enforcement, breaks down to roughly about $190,000 per person that we're spending to arrest. And then most of these people were doing right. Half of them thought that they had their rights restored. More than that, out of those people who've been arrested, a majority of them have been African Americans. So it feels like this is a targeted approach of voter intimidation to try and prevent Black folks from voting in the upcoming election. And it just reeks of institutional racism and also a waste of our tax dollars. And that's the thing that irritates me is when you have politicians who love to tout their fiscal conservatism and they love to tout their libertarian views on your freedom. But when it comes to this issue of cannabis, what we see from the conservative politicians is overregulation. We see a high taxation. We see unnecessary bureaucracy. All the things that they tout to be against, all the things that they accuse Democrats of being most days. And that's what we're getting from our conservative lawmakers and from the DeSantis administration. And it's irritating no end. But there is one race that is on the ballot that can make one of the biggest differences, I think, when it comes to federal legalization. And that is removing the prohibitionist senator that we have representing the state of Florida. And by that, I mean voting Marco Rubio's ass out of office.
So you're telling me that Marco Rubio and Val Demings, whom you're not a major fan of, but you still appreciate, you would vote for Val Demings?
Val Demings has voted for the MORE Act twice in her time in the House. So she's put it on paper that she supports legalization, and she's done it by her votes. her being a former police chief, obviously that's not something that in her personality is like part of her platform and she's outspoken about, but she's done the due diligence in casting the votes when it mattered. And I think that's the difference between her and Rubio. Rubio won't even respond to our emails in a positive manner. And when you do get a response via email, it's always the same. Marijuana is a gateway drug. What about the kids? It's illegal. It's all the same shit, if you will, that we see every single time repeated by prohibitionists. And I was talking to my cousin about this the other day. The fact that Val Demings is very an outspoken, police officer and former police chief, at times, feels weird. But that is the choice that America has given us with the two-party system. That is the choice that we have in front of us. This ballot box is a prohibitionist or the police. And the sad part is, it's the police that is pro-weed in this situation. So in the grand scheme of things, all in all, I think the three words at the bottom of the screen sum it up. Marco Rubio sucks. Vote Val Demings for U.S. Senator in the upcoming election.
I am still trying to get Val on the show. I've been trying with it. Obviously, she was very busy in D.C. and things of that sort. Now that she's home, guys are listening, because I'm certain you're stalking to make certain we don't say anything untoward. So we want her on the show to go ahead and tout her platform so everybody else can hear it. She did a good job of reaming him in a new one during that debate. She Marco on the debate. He tried to go on the quiet side, and she was not quiet. In fact, the woman.
Well, there have been a lot of debates. Another one that happened this week was Rebecca Jones handed Matt Gaetz his ass in a debate. So I was happy to see, her being out there and supporting what we got going on, here in the state and being pro-legalization and really taking it to him. Matt is one of those politicians, while he's been pro-cannabis, he is problematic to say the least. With all the issues with paying for allegedly paying for sex with underage girls, cash apping his buddy hundreds of dollars to have 17 and 18-year-olds come party with them. For someone who's so outspoken about Jeffrey Epstein, I find it ironic that he's one who's been caught up in the whole sex scandals, especially with underage girls. And, we joke lightheartedly to make, levity of a lot of these serious situations. But someone like that, who has been born with a silver spoon in their mouth, who is a legacy, essentially, his daddy helped springboard his career with his father being the former president of the Florida Senate and all, really, you see that growing up. You see that spoiled frat boy attitude that he displays, on the news, in his interviews, and that pompousness, and it come back to bite him, because people like that think that they're untouchable, when in fact being in Congress is a sacred duty in this country. It's something to where you're representing, thousands, if not millions of people in some of these districts, and they count on you. They count on you to represent them. They count on you to bring the bacon home. And the fact is that if you're too distracted chasing tail, if you're doing things that are unbecoming of someone who represents the people, you're not doing what you need to do to represent the people. And I think that's why I'm glad Rebecca Jones has stepped up. Some of you may have remember Rebecca Jones. She was the COVID-19 whistleblower on the DeSantis administration. When she was fired, from her job with the state, for pointing out that the DeSantis administration was fudging its numbers when it came to COVID deaths, and really trying to diminish the impact of how many lives and how much danger that we've had during the COVID-19 pandemic. And, folks, it's still they say this much: protect yourselves out there. Make sure you're getting your booster shots. My whole thing about people having concerns about vaccines and what's in it and what causes it. And the truth is that we were able to eliminate so many things like smallpox and polio and so many diminishing, measles, mumps, rubella, these childhood diseases that were really damaging to the lifespan and life expectancy of Americans. And we pretty much eradicated most of these diseases. And, now there's a comeback because there's this pushback in science, but also there's this distrust of big pharma. And people were like, "Oh, what's in the vaccines?" I mean, yes, we all have a distrust of big pharma, what they put in our pills. But all in all, most vaccines are safe. They are rigorously tested and such. And I just have to say that it is concerning to think that people don't want to do right in protecting everybody else and protecting their loved ones. I mean, hell, go get a flu shot this season at least if you're not going to get your boosters and get vaxxed. Because as we try to return to normal, we still see spikes in it all. One of the things I found interesting is that because of the quarantine, a lot of children are being hospitalized because this is their first time being exposed to viruses. As we kind of go back to normal, kids actually going back to daycare. A lot of these pandemic babies were not, socially exposed to things, and so that's a big concern. There's a lot of hospitals across the country where their kids units are overfilled right now because kids are sick. And so, like I said, take care of your families, wash your hands, still wear a mask if you're going to be around a lot of people. Just protect yourself and your health. I mean, Gary, you got a master's in public health. Is there anything that I'm saying that just is not basic, public health science 101?
You're absolutely correct. I mean, there is a uptick right now of the RSV virus. Back when she was very young, when she still had a trach in her neck and had to get nicomycin for a long time because it's a deadly virus that kills 50% in young children, and it's out there and it's growing in the hospitals right now. So we, as far as the other situations, I would hate to even think, but if you ever hear good recommendations that you think are good recommendations from our center, you might want to listen to some other Surgeon General from some other states. we have a vaccine denier, essentially, in charge of the health department for the state of not making me comfortable at all. In fact, he wrote an article that was espousing QAnon theory, which shows you exactly where we stand. This is one of the guys who's actually one of the frontline doctors who agree with the lady endometriosis coming from having sex with demons in your sleep and all this kind of stuff. Surgeon General. This is the guy who's supposed to be looking out for our health. I don't think he's looking out for our health. And of course, the Surgeon General is in charge of the Department of Health, who's in charge of the. So that is where we stand. And that is just basically the mouth that's put in place. And I wish they fix that. We really need to have a better understanding of public health. And speaking of health, we have one member of our Sun Coast Florida family who has a birthday today, whose health has always been in and out, but she's Jamie Howe. Happy birthday! She's out there. I want to make sure all of us, Monique and myself, of course, you wish her a happy birthday. And moving forward, and I know that she's pretty soon, so have fun with that. And I've done my due diligence as far as that's concerned.
Gary, thanks for giving a shout out to one of our members, Jamie, for her birthday. And I think, it's sad to see that someone as important as the Surgeon General of the state of Florida is a politicized position. Politicians, if they're smart, appoint people to positions that are not going to tell them what they want to hear, but that are going to give them the truth and that is going to give them, decisions that they need to make for the better of the people. And that's not what we have in our current Surgeon General. We have a rubber stamp for political culture wars in that person. And when your Surgeon General, who's in charge of the Department of Health, which is in charge of our medical marijuana system, is anti-science, that is a major concern for every single medical marijuana patient in the state. And it is not shocking to me that we have such an anti-science medical marijuana system when it comes to the allotments that patients are given over a 35-day period. I have fielded multiple calls from our members and from other patients. We've seen it across social media. They've basically made it to where you can only get 2 grams a day to smoke in the state of Florida as a medical marijuana patient. And I can tell you, 2 grams can get smoked up in one joint, more or less. So the fact that you can only get 2 grams a day of smokable flower as a patient without having to go through all this rigmarole with your doctor and having to get extensions and allotment waivers and such. I mean, frankly, it's just bullshit. If we had a governor who was doing what they needed to do, if we had a surgeon general who was not anti-science, if we had an OMMU that was not filled with political appointees and bureaucrats who don't know their head from their ass, we would actually have a robust system that works. But that is not what we got under the DeSantis administration. For 4 years, all we've seen is ineptitude. For 4 years, all we've seen is a constant uphill battle. It seems like they got their fingers in their ears going la 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 when we go up there to Tallahassee and tell them patients want this, patients need this. This is how we should be doing things. Here's a comparative analysis of 4 other states that are doing it right. Why can't you seem to get your shit together? And again, it's the same issues time and time again. So if we want to see robust change in Florida, we have to change our politicians like we change shitty diapers.
Yeah, we definitely need some tweaking done to government if we're ever going to get this and other important issues off the ground. I mean, issues in regards to people who need medical assistance at home, handicapped or have severe disabilities. These guys are supposed to be getting a certain, and because they weren't properly looking at the Medicaid program, a lot of them are going to be cut to increase their pay to $15 an hour, which was promised to all state workers. A lot of people who rely heavily on these home workers who won't have them, and that includes a lot of who have these people to help them get out of bed in the morning, things of that sort, get them into their chair so they can actually be independent. And we have to get this damn shit fixed and pay more attention to the patients. And one of the other issues that I know is mine is that this state still has very much a character when it comes to our MMTCs, and we have a lack of an open market. It means oftentimes quality dips because there's no need to worry about a lack of competition, and of course the quality also suffers too, because why bother push for higher sales if you really don't have any competition? And so
well
we've been waiting
stated.
for a long time, and the licenses have not come forward. In 2017, we had set it up so we would get new 1,000 patients. Well, we're pushing almost 800,000 patients right now, and we still haven't put out not one single application for medical cannabis. All the applications, all the licenses to CBD only organizations after they either processed in 2015 or they lost it and they got the license anyway. Many sold off to multi-state operators now who are again often like with GTI, or with all due respect, figuring that they can do what they want, like doing forward, like trying to put it in gas stations and things of that sort. But is that one of the things that we had discussed in 2017 was that we had to make certain that we're here in this state. Now, by minority presence, I'm telling you, it isn't right now. There's only 2% ownership, minority ownership of minority businesses. It's now down to 2. And we were supposed to have, by the grace of license given out, 1 license given out to minorities in 2017, and they screwed that up. They despite the fact that the application process didn't actually open up until March of this year. Applications were put out. the winner 5 months later, and that winner, because of all the litigation going on over all the other applications. Now, in the last run, a lot of the losers got licenses, which I guess was a good thing considering the answers otherwise. But if you take a look at some of the challenges that are involved in almost challenging it for one reason or another. Like for instance, there's this, I believe that the guy is a Canadian footballer, but it was under the guise of his grandfather, who actually died after the application was put in. And so they said that they can't award a license to a deceased person. It would work just as well. Moreover, any interest that Hopkins had in an MMT ceased upon Mr. Hopkins' death. However, the lawyers are arguing, and I love this one too, regulations do not specify that the death of an applicant while the applicant is pending is so you could have a dead owner and still have a license in the state of Florida as long as you talk. And they also managed to double the cost of the application. We started out with 60,000. Now it's over 130,000. Luckily, Bill was saying if you lost this, you'd automatically go into the next batch of licenses being given without having to put out another application fee. But this whole thing has been a thing. They also had another person who applied who was 99 years old. With respect to the centenarians out there, how many of you are able to run a vertical business? I would venture to say none.
Well, Gary, that's a symptom of the process itself being so corrupt that it wound up with this Pickford class that folks didn't get their initial shake when we initially licensed out MMTCs, and so you have African American businesses really just trying to find anybody who qualifies under Pickford so they can have a shot at this very limited scope license, which only one is being given out, and which you pointed out has double the licensing fee than the original MMTCs, the big five that came into Florida. So all in all, the system has been something that has had its challenges. And you see these things like 99-year-old farmers applying for a license because that's the only shot Black-owned businesses even have to break into Florida's cartel-like vertically integrated system. So you're absolutely right. One of the things that I wanted us to talk about before we wrap up the show today, there was one big study that really is near and dear to my heart that just came out in the Journal of Frontiers in Aging and Neuroscience out of Geneva, Switzerland. The administration of plant-derived cannabis extracts with a 2-to-1 ratio of CBD to THC has been shown to have behavioral improvements in dementia patients. And so they were looking at 12.4 milligrams of THC to 24.8 milligrams of CBD per day for dementia patients over a 13-month period. And they showed marked improvements, including reduced agitation, limited adverse drug reactions, as well as better sleep. And I can tell you, as someone whose father suffered from dementia for many, many years, and medical cannabis was the only thing that relieved any symptoms, to actually see hard science coming out and showing that it is really doing what the United States government has a patent to do, and that is help patients with strokes, with dementia, with other ischemic issues, to really have that relief that they need. So the science is there that cannabis helps. And what irritates me, like we've shown before, is anti-science politicians maintaining the status quo. And now it seems like the status quo, Gary, you touched on this, is being maintained for corporate profits. And that is something that we cannot allow. Corporate profits cannot hold up the legalization movement. We cannot allow corporate profits to hold up adult use. We got to move forward. We got to push through this. We got to make sure that we have a system that is opening up to everybody. And in that note, there's been a bill filed recently, and I just want to go over this. I'm going to share my screen for the folks at home so they can see. And we can talk more about this. But this bill has been filed in the U.S. Senate and House of Representatives. It's in the Congress here, and it is called the Small and Homestead Independent Producers Act of 2022. And this will allow for small cultivators and manufacturers of marijuana to ship it in the mail over state lines. So this, essentially will allow some of those boutique and mom and pop shops that we see have the opportunity to move it across state lines, and it will take effect on the date in which marijuana is removed from the list of scheduled substances under the Controlled Substances Act. So we already see members of Congress really setting up for nationwide delivery here with this recent bill. Gary, what are your thoughts on this bill?
Proactive and actually creating a piece of legislation that will only takes effect. It may be a political move at that point in time because it can't current day and age, but it's a good thought in the right direction. That are issues in regards to the 14th Amendment and states' rights and things of that sort, as to move things across state lines if you can't move things across state lines. And so I'm certainly it's set for a lot of challenges. But hopefully that means it'll move forward, and that when we do have that ever happens, then we will actually have a system that makes sense, and seeing more interstate transfer, because we have some states right now that are so overproducing.
Yeah, Oregon has a glut right now. Prices are dropping there significantly because it's the state of Oregon. There's only so many millions of people, and they have so many people able to grow and cultivate. The state of Hawaii is one state's government that has been proactive. They're ready to as soon as we legalize it, to become the distribution hub for United States cannabis to the entire Pacific Rim area. And more than that, I would find it great that if we could sample some of these, land races and strains that are grown in other parts of our country. That's the unique thing about cannabis. You can take the same genetics and grow them in Florida versus grow them in Colorado versus grow them in Hawaii, and you'll get three different outcomes on the plant. You'll get different colors, you'll get different cannabinoid contents, and I think that is awesome. I think that is something that we should have, in that variety, especially when those different characteristics of the plant help for different reasons for different people. So all in all, I would like us to have a more robust and open system. And the only way we do that is by removing cannabis from the Controlled Substances Act. So, and the only way we're going to get that happen is as if we essentially change out these shitty prohibitionist politicians in this next election. I mean, that's the only way we're going to see it happen. If for some reason the prohibitionists take back control of either the House or the Senate, we're not going to see any movement for the next 2 years. And then, try to kick the can down the road to 2024 or even 2026 to those midterms. I mean, how many more patients have to die? How many more people have to sit in jail? How many more lives have to be upended before we, the people, do what we need to do and vote these politicians out of office? And like I said, it starts with getting rid of Marco Rubio, and it starts with getting rid of Ron DeSantis in Florida, and to vote to not retain, most of these Supreme Court judges that we have coming up on the ballot. And as I said, if you're not sure exactly, who to vote for and who you want to be on your team, you can go to the Normal Election Center and see the recommendations that are already on there. But next week's show, Gary, myself, Carlos, we will be, recapping all the great events from the weekend, but we're going to take a deep dive into who we should be voting for. And we'd like to extend an open invitation again to U.S. Senate candidate Val Demings to come on the show and espouse her platform and tell us more about what she's going to do in supporting the legalization and civil rights of cannabis users moving forward. And if you want to support the show, support the rotation, you go to patreon.com/suncoastnormal, become a member to keep this show on the air. But more than that, also become a member of Suncoast Normal. We're doing everything we can to make sure that your legalization needs are met, that you have the latest info, that you know what's happening, whether it's this bill that Representative Huffman's putting out for nationwide cannabis distribution, or whether it's understanding who's a prohibitionist and who's not in this state. But if you can become a member of Suncoast Normal for just $25 a year, you can make all the difference. Let's say you're like, hey, yeah, I want to be a member, but I want some more bang for my buck. Well, guess what? We got our Halloweed costume party coming up. And everyone who buys a VIP ticket will not only get access to the Halloweed event with a VIP gift bag, but also a 1-year membership to Suncoast Normal. So that is an awesome way to renew your membership and also have a great time. Live entertainment. And we're going to have some awesome comedians with live music. There'll be food. There's going to be vendors there. Shout out to Cushy Pies, who's going to be there. And again, it's $100 cash for the best stoner-themed costume. So come on out. Check us out. You're definitely going to want to be a part of that. So I'm pretty excited for it. Gary, how about you? You excited for the upcoming Halloween party?
I can barely contain myself, which is... It's not easy because I often not. But,
well, it's not everybody might be able to make it out to the Halloween party. Maybe that's not folks' forte, but I can tell you what is my forte and everybody's forte. The best blunt in the Bay rolling competition is back, baby. November 26th. This is Thanksgiving weekend. You want to be at Chillum Mushroom and Hemp Dispensary, and we are going. The tickets are on sale live now. If you want to be in the rolling competition, if you want to enter as a contestant, our previous winner of the best blunt in the Bay, the Weed Whisperer, is coming back to defend her crown. If you think you can unseat the Weed Whisperer with the best blunt in the Bay, you should definitely join and enter the competition. We also have a team competition coming up with this. So if you got a team of 4 that you want to enter into the best blunt in the Bay competition, then by all means join us. You want to be a part of this. We want to make this happen. And then, of course, if you just want to come and check it out, we got general admission tickets available, also VIP tickets available, which will come with a VIP gift bag and, again, a 1-year membership to Suncoast Normal. And all in all, I think the best thing ever is to be a judge, because the judges not only get to look at the blunts, feel the blunts, but they get to smoke them. So if you want to be a judge and you want to be a part of the best blunt in the Bay rolling competition, I highly encourage you to join us. All proceeds go to criminal justice reform. And again, this is going to be at Chillum Saturday, November 26th. So you want to be there. Look, I'm pretty excited. Today was a great show. I want to thank Gary. I want to thank Chris Suttle from Villain Arts. Again, great things coming up. So join us for the tattoo convention this weekend in Tampa at the Convention Center. Of course, Halloweed, our costume party, and then go on to suncoastnormal.org and get your limited tickets right now. Hurry up and get those. Judges' tickets are limited. There is a limited amount of spots for judges and for entry into the competition. So sign up your team of 4 today or enter yourself in to the Best Blunt Debate rolling competition. But all in all, check us out, suncoastnormal.org. Follow us on social media. We're here doing everything we can. If you can support our page in this broadcast, go to our Patreon page, support the rotation, and become a member of Suncoast Normal and be a part of that movement. Again, you can go on our website right now and sign up for a VIP ticket for one of our upcoming events, and it will renew your membership automatically for you. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and share. And if you're watching us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, like and share. Again, you can download past episodes across the spectrum of social media, whether it's Facebook or Amazon, iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud. You can go into Pandora. You can always watch the rotation live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, or you can go to our website. But again, tune in next week. Go to our election center as you're filling out your ballots this week or going to early vote and find out which candidates you want to support that are supporting us, that support legalization. And again, in all things, let's make it happen. Join the movement. We appreciate you, and we will catch you next week in the rotation. Love and peace.